And happy 20th year anniversary to DLD. Yay. I'm always on the panel with the smartest people. And this is not different. So this is such a fascinating topic because we've seen AI influence white-collar work quite a bit, right? We're talking about removing the difficulties in very meticulous operations in jobs so that the practitioners can become more effective and efficient at what they do. But now, what happens with industrial automation? I want to ask this remarkable panel, what's your opinion about the trends that we're seeing in AI in industry? Nathan.
Yeah, I can definitely take on that one, because I think what's interesting with AI currently is that a lot of AI is kind of focused towards these white-collar workers, and the blue-collar workers are just getting to experience it on a use case basis. So you can see a lot of use cases popping up in the manufacturing industry where you can say, okay, we can get a little bit more efficient here and a little bit more efficient there. But the next trend that currently all the big manufacturers in car and electronics are really hunting for is kind of align it along the entire value chain, that you look into the supply chains, then look into the production process, and afterwards into the market to kind of align all of these different interests to use AI on a basis where you can really carve out the gains that you can get by seeing it end to end. I think that's what's happening at the moment.
Very cool. Sebastian, you're the CEO of EPLAN, Efficient Engineering. How are you bringing AI? Can you share a use case or something interesting?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the thing that we are trying to get to our customers is helping them really digitize whatever they do in manufacturing and in their production lines. So imagine, in each production line, when you see a big factory or whatever, you have thousands of sensors, thousands of actors that need to interact together, that are producing data by running the factory. And we all have a huge problem in interpreting this data and making use of it, really use of it, to achieve exactly this seamless integration from the supply chain down to the market processes. And what we are doing is we are providing software to help those customers, getting more context into these data and bringing the logic behind the data into the foundation to make AI use cases possible.
Yeah, because I find what you said about the data really important, because this is a field where you have different types of data. If you're, for example, manufacturing a car, you may use videos, pictures, text, audio, etc., to do all kinds of things with AI, like analyzing, where you're putting the sensors in a car, and then seeing, if there are scratches or how to optimize the output of a manufacturing process. So all these kind of IoT data with video, etc., it presents complexities that other kinds of fields that are software-based do not have. How about from an academic perspective, Wolfram, what are you seeing?
I mean, as an academic, so I live in this ivory tower, but I'm always looking at the applications. I'm always interested in these questions, where can we actually apply this? And I also worked for a few years in a company that is actually in the self-driving car business, trying to do that what Astro also talked about, like building a real car that uses AI on the road. And this is quite a challenge, and in particular, when you look at the European landscape, or Germany, where we have all these smart and medium enterprises, the challenge there is, first of all, that the data needs to be available, and historically we don't have this, right? So these companies did not from the very beginning think in terms of this AI-ish revolution. Who knew a few years ago that this all is going to happen? So we are lacking technology for the data. We are lacking also engineers. Engineers are super expensive. You heard before that with this new generative AI methodology, it's going to become easier, right? So we potentially need less engineers for developing learning systems. And then also we need to have the experts that can actually build this. And I think this is a challenge for Germany. And so the provision of the data, there's companies who work on this, and then also the technology for actually building such systems.
I like that you pointed out scarcity, because we had a talk about this, and you shared that you felt there was limited advancement in industry and in manufacturing and supply chain optimization when it comes to AI. Feel free to just jump in. Why do you think that is?
I mean, I can jump in, and I think one of the main reasons is that if you're looking into the traditional way of manufacturing, the intention was to mass produce products. And now markets are changing, customer demands are changing, and we need to be much more adaptive. So
yes.
Mass production becomes a little bit something that you still need to do, but on the other hand, you need to be much more flexible and much more adaptive. And reality is, if you're setting up a factory or a production line, you're happy when it's operating the way it should operate, and you better not touch it anymore.
Yeah.
Because there are so many things working together that are not properly documented, that are not properly managed, that you better leave it in the way it is.
Yeah.
And as if we're not coming to a point where we can easily reassemble kind of manufacturing and production lines for higher adaptability, I think this is one of the key problems that customers see and companies see, that it's very, very hard and very, very cost intensive and time intensive to rebuild their production lines to the new ways. So one of the ways getting out of this is digitization. So digitizing everything you have,
yep.
Trying to build up reality in a digital world, like in the metaverse, and then let it run in a virtual world before rebuilding everything on a very high cost base. So I think this is one of the things.
That answer really summarizes it all, because it talks about how traditional engineering, where Germany is famous for its precision and manufacturing in a massive scale, but now customers are expecting something completely different, which is customization and adaptive design. And these are huge investments. Every time you buy a machine to manufacture something, there is risk aversion, because whatever it does, if it doesn't work, it's a huge investment. And so how have you seen people deal with this more customized approach and adaptive design?
I mean, I think this is very complicated in Germany, because I often have the impression, Astro mentioned this also, like in the automation industry is a little bit risk aware, right? Or not very willing to take risks. And we all know that every second that you lose in a production process that costs you whatsoever, there are all these calculations, which often leads to the fact that they are not interested in introducing AI into the manufacturing processes, simply because AI is not perfect. We all know this, right? So AI makes failures. And we don't have this mindset of accepting failures, right? So years ago, I talked to car manufacturers in Germany, and then they asked me, well, what do you do if the car fails and gets stuck? I told them, yes, you have it. Like an office in India, there's 20 people with a joystick that steer the car out of the situation. Yeah, but this is expensive. And then, yes, but your task is to basically reduce the number of people you need for that task. Make your product better, and then you reach that point where you become cost effective. And this is a mindset that is extremely hard to get into at least from my perspective, into the German industry. On top of this, the data collection, right? So, that's what the advantage of these companies is that they from the very beginning can think about what is the data that we are going to need in order to improve our product. And this is extremely hard with companies that exist for 100 years, that have their processes running for 50 years. I recently went to a company and they showed me a cabinet with folders, right? So that's it, that's their data, right?
Nathan, how is Datagon AI dealing with this customization and customers' increased need for new design?
Actually, what we do is we try to take on this end-to-end perspective in a production process, so that we really look at how was the supply chain and kind of what data do we get from there, how was the production process, and then what did the customer say about the product to kind of connect that and be able to improve the value that is kind of coming out for the customer in the end. So to give an example with one of our automotive customers from a car manufacturer, they had problems with their screens of the navigation system in the field, that kind of some of them were lacking and black screening. And kind of the deal that the link that AI can build there is kind of say, okay, for all of these cars that had this problem, you had kind of strange values during production already in the wiring harness. So kind of connecting these data points is really making the process more efficient there, because usually you would need weeks or months to kind of figure out we have a problem there, and then figure out what was the root cause actually. And this is really where AI can kind of step in, build the link, and on the other hand also standardize the data formats in a way that you can actually do this.
I like that answer. I can share a personal perspective from leading AI products at EY. Our 4 service lines are very old school, traditional: taxes, accounting, assurance, and consulting. And you have to understand, these practitioners that are doing this are historically charging by the hour, so they don't always have an incentive to make their work more efficient. And my role is to go there and as an iterative process and say, hey, instead of taking a month to do a very complex company's taxes, I'm going to upload all your 100 documents about the client into a large language model with knowledge about how to perform these taxes, and then it's going to spit out in a few hours recommendations or in a few minutes. And I see this sort of not always friendly mindset towards AI and how it can benefit. Do you see that at all in your industry?
Sure. I mean, everybody who is kind of working and bringing AI for more efficiency, because this is in the end what the customers ask for, because they want to spend less money and kind of bring AI to value. Of course, it's kind of going hand in hand with cost cutting. I think there is 2 factors to it. Blue-collar workers already have, in the plants, are really organizations where everybody is looking into saving FTEs, like that you kind of want to get more efficient by introducing robots and now also AI. I think what's really going to be interesting is how are you going to handle it in the white-collar space? Because what we can already see now is you have one person doing the job of, say, 10 or 15, if he's really good at it, with the help of AI. Yes. And I think it's really going to be interesting how these large organizations here in Germany, in Europe, deal with this fact that one person can actually do the job in the indirect area of, say, 10, 15 people, and maybe even do it better.
Absolutely. And I do think that our ability to accept human error is much wider than our ability to accept robotic or computational error. Even though computers tend to be, on average, much more safe, accurate, efficient than humans could ever be, but we're still afraid. How about you, Sebastian? Have you seen cases where people are not always welcoming of the advancement of technology for industrial processes?
Of course. I mean, the motto here is future positive. So I think there are also a lot of companies, especially in the machine building industry, that are really taking care of and trying to make use of it and have huge successes with it. But it's only focused perhaps to one machine or to one machine line up to now. So we have seen customers, utilizing the power of AI and configuration to really get down their engineering time for certain variants of their machines down 90%. So it's 90. So really, really high gains in efficiency in blue and white color in the entire process. But it's still kind of a singularity because it's one machine builder for one certain purpose and not a whole production line, which is much more complex.
Do you, Wolfram, see AI and other emerging technologies like blockchain for security or quantum? How do you see the trend? Are they really going to disrupt industrial automation, or are we still a few years away from taking over?
I mean, definitely it will disrupt certain components of the automation, right? It will, like the perception of these systems will become substantially better, which basically means that these robots, as soon as you start adding sensors to it and cameras, for example, and then they will show much better performance. The only problem that I see is that we need to be ready to accept this risk. Right? So there's going to be a dip because these robots are not going to be as effective as humans in the very beginning. Right? So, but by improving them, that typically in the long run you will be better. Right? So that's something that we need to invest, and that's what I mean when I say we need to be a little bit more aggressive in this term. And I'm positive about this. This, from my perspective, the way to go, and particularly with these language models, they are a key enabler for doing this right now. So
you're an academician. Do you think universities are agile enough to prepare experts for this fast-changing AI era?
That's a good question. So you know, I'm trying to be agile, right? So I just moved away from that what I've been doing before. Right now my entire team is doing foundation models on generative AI right now, but not all of us are like this, right? So universities, even university professors, many of them, I used to say, have this hammer in their pocket and they try to make every nail fit to that hammer, right? Or even a screw, right? So, and this is, sometimes it's really difficult to actually also turn these big ships called university around. In Nuremberg, we right now have this advantage of being super small, and we can be very, very agile by hiring new people in emerging fields, which is our key advantage right now. But we also need to educate people, not only in industry, but also in universities, to be more agile.
And since we're talking about future positive, one thing I'm hopeful for is that automated robots and systems are helping us perform jobs that would otherwise be dangerous for humans, like Shell in oil and gas. It's a huge company, right? So they invested, and they're using drones and taking lots of pictures and video and multimodal data and AI together to, instead of taking 4 to 5 years to check an oil rig and the pipelines and for leakages and even, you know, in dangerous places, now they take 3 to 4 months with this advancement. And so, you know, there is hope that this can remove a lot of the blue-collar jobs that are dangerous, cumbersome, and difficult. Have you seen cases where it gives you hope that humanity will be better due to automation?
I think we have seen this for decades already. I mean, automation is not a new thing, and I think after the first industrial revolution, there was a second one, and there was a third one, or we're perhaps in the middle of the third one, and there will come a fourth one. And at the end, jobs have not become less; they shifted. And I think education is a key piece to this. Of course, a purely repetitive work and will perhaps not be as valuable anymore as it perhaps is right now. But on the other hand, more skilled jobs will come up, and we will see. I don't think that we will see a huge decline in workforce. It will shift for sure, but it's not going away.
That is a point with a lot of tension, right? I mean, Nathan, what are your predictions regarding the displacement of workers? Like if I automate most of the industrial processes, all these people are going to be left without a job. There's talk of universal income. Like, how do you see that happening?
Yeah, I think it's, as I said, it has these two sides of a coin. In the blue-collar and in the white-collar space, in the blue-collar, I think robots are going to kick in at some point. Unclear yet when, with humanoid robots, when they actually can take place in these processes which are made for humans. On the other hand, AI will kind of help drastically with speeding up the product development and probably replace many of the white-collar workers there. And I think the really interesting question for us as Europe or generally for companies in the manufacturing space is, can they actually kind of carry over their knowledge into this era of AI and kind of outpace new kind of upcoming organizations which kind of design their entire product development processes and production processes based on these kind of greenfield approaches with AI. And I think this is really what is important for an individual company. On the bigger level, to end it positively as well, I would say we all as consumers are actually kind of the ones who get the payout of the processes getting more efficient, getting more more sustainable, when you kind of reduce scrap usage, when you kind of reduce energy. So we are all kind of living in a better world when these processes get more efficient. But still, I think on the competitive edge, every company needs to see how they can actually integrate AI there.
Okay, we're running out of time, but let's finish with one last question, which is, what would you advise to a company that's deciding between investing moderately into hiring personnel to do the work, or putting a huge investment and risking in automating their processes? Which one, how should I evaluate that option?
Depends on how long you want to stay in the market. If you're planning for an exit, you might do the first choice. But if you want to stay with a sustainable business over the next, let's say, 5 to 10 or 20 years, you should be investing.
Transformation.
Talking with Astro, I think go for the moonshot if you have enough money in the bank, and otherwise invest in the very best people. That would always be my best guess for companies.
Thanks, Nathan. How about you?
I mean, for me, it's obvious that investing into technology is the best choice for it, right? So you're going to be more efficient in the long run, right? But you need to get experts helping you with doing this. I think the future is positive, but it's risky to do this without the real experts. And that's actually what I think you need, because we are right now lacking, or there's not many people who are able to deal with this type of generative AI technology. It's an actual problem. You have a much larger shortage than with the typical machine learning experts.
Well, thank you so much for all your knowledge and sharing all these comments. And thank you for your attention. Hope you found it interesting.